Hello world! I made a top 10 list of ideas that many take for granted while living in capitalism. These ideas are hardly ever questioned by regular people in their daily lives, let alone in the workplace. They are never questioned on mainstream media. They are sacred. They are like a religion. You do not talk about them. You obey them. You live them day in and day out. They are your water and your air. I want to tell you the punchline up front. All these ideas are deeply rooted into the collective mind of many humans, especially in the rich countries, also known as the global north. As we know from history, no idea lasts forever. It is time to exercise these ideas from our collective mind and move on. We have to. Our time on earth is running out. Number 1. Growth is good and must never stop. Capitalism is the only economic system in the history of humanity that is obsessed about and constructed around the idea of material growth. If the economy doesn't grow by 3% every year, capitalism will become sick and tired. It needs growth like a drug addict needs a fix. Human societies were not driven by economic growth until capitalism showed up. When certain individual human emotions became socially accepted, creed and law, growth became an institution. I am talking about greed, self-actualization through domination over others, and narcissistic hedonism. Anything that capitalism does is driven by these emotions. 40,000 McDonald's restaurants in the world represent greed and domination. There's no intrinsic need for McDonald's in Kenya or Italy. A CEO earning a salary of $200 million is greed and narcissistic hedonism. No human works 4,000 times harder, smarter, or better than an average worker. It ain't possible. Building a monopoly is greed, domination, and narcissistic hedonism. The tech monopolies, oligopolies, and monopsonies have promised a grand positive revolution, but they delivered manipulation, consumerism, privacy breaches, and mountains of garbage. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention the positives from the tech revolution. They are: Number 2, the profit motive is a great moral incentive to build a business. This is because the profit motive is an expression of self-interest. According to capitalism, the ultimate right of humans is personal freedom, which in theory translates into the pursuit of self-interest, meaning profit equals freedom, profit equals pursuit of human rights. In practice, it is nothing like this. The first problem with the profit motive is that it has no finality. It becomes an end unto itself. It stops being a means to achieve freedom. When people focus on money as an end, they forget other motivations. Life is diminished as a result because of a pursuit of a narrow spectrum of motivations. The second problem is that the pursuit of profit is a goal without a satisfying condition. There's no intrinsic finish line, no particular amount of money that can satisfy the profit motive. The goalpost moves endlessly and repeats itself. It is never constant. The third problem is that what the ancient Greeks called pleonexia, the Romans called cupiditas, and we call greed. On June 6th, Mr. 1 Timothy tweeted, "Covetousness is the root of all evils." Greed unbalances a person, distracts one from meaningful pursuits in life. Greed destroys, it isolates humans from one another. The fourth problem is that it leads to dishonesty, lying, and fraud. Oligarchs and regular billionaires hide money in Switzerland. The rich use charitable foundations to hide wealth from taxation. They are stealing from us. Fake companies are established in Panama, Ireland, and in many other fiscal paradises for one reason alone: more profit. The fifth problem is that the profit motive distorts and breaks the motive for human solidarity. It is a win-lose game. Think of the stock market. One gambler wins when another loses. They will never be friends. They will never care about each other's well-being. The profit motive under capitalism creates confrontation, not collaboration. The sixth problem is exploitation. It is a zero-sum game. Employers only make a profit if they can keep the surplus out of their workers' hands. All that excess belongs to the employer. The worker sees no penny from that excess. Many humans cannot even imagine how a business could look like or could exist without the profit motive. Well, it is my job on this channel to try to help humans imagine that alternatives are possible, better, and necessary. The profit alone is very bad, but in context, it may be okay if it's not the first motive and if all other motives and consequences are considered equally. Number 3, wealth is based on merit. When young nerds start a tech company in a garage, which ends up being Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, or whatever, we think that the wealth they made is based on their individual merit and brilliance. It is a very simplistic soundbite. Success stories like these always have hidden explanations. These guys were never poor. They had help and money from family and friends. They convinced investors. They convinced silly humans to work for them, help them grow their businesses in exchange for a salary, but never shares in the company and never shares of the profit. The nerds got the wealth, while the suckers working for them got a line in their resume. The nerds also stole from the common good. The idea for the GPS was invented in a university, but the nerds got rich from it. The public majority paid for the invention, and a minority of humans accrued the wealth. Wealth in capitalism originates in a very exploitative interpretation of property rights. Wealth buys power over the livelihood of other humans. When you own shares in a company, you can tell the workers what to do, and if they refuse, you fire them, and they may lose their house. The connection of wealth to power is immoral, unjust, and should be criminalized. Number 4, passive income is good. Passive income is when you make money without working. The technical term is economic rent. It's dividends, interest on investments, rent from real estate, royalties for some intellectual right, fees for a made-up service, commissions from pyramid schemes, and other variations on this theme. Passive income is what all capitalists want. It's a fetish, an obsession, a delusion. Passive income is the capitalist institution for laziness. It is meant to take from others and never to reciprocate. It's the method by which capitalists climb the social ladder and inflate their social status. It is impossible to get to the top without a form of passive income. For this reason, all get-rich schemes are various forms of passive income. I am not the first to say this. The pursuit of passive income will mean the end of human civilization in our lifetime. I made a video specifically against passive income, link below. Number 5. The market economy needs advertising. The original idea of advertising was to inform the public about new products, similar to how bookshops in the 17th century would inform the public about new ideas in the form of the books. However, since the late 19th century, or perhaps even earlier, advertising has become something more sinister. Advertising does not inform anymore. Rather, it creates needs where they do not exist, then makes us buy things even if we do not want to. The purpose of advertising now is solely to keep growth alive by any means necessary. Lying, coercion, theft of personal data. There's no other fundamental reason. Advertising is the loud voice of capitalism. I made a video specifically against advertising, link below. Number 6. We need to sell our time for a wage. No, we don't. But that is certainly what capitalism wants from us. We do have the option of starting a business, becoming capitalists ourselves, and making a profit from other people's work. 80% of small businesses do survive the first year. 50% survive past the 5-year mark. 30% get to the 10-year mark. Oh wait, we could start a business every year, sell it, then start another next year. That's an 80% chance of survival. Then we can successfully celebrate our first heart attack at 30 and the last at 45. We are free to do that. Mr. Curtis James Jackson, the third in his line, aka $50 by his taxpayer name, did in fact say that we ought to become wealthy or kick the bucket while trying. There's a better way to do business. We could cooperate with our fellow humans, talk and build consensus, forge something useful for society, share the wealth while enjoying the process, and not steal from the labor of others. Wouldn't that be nice? Number 7. Hierarchies inside corporations are legitimate and good. This is a consequence of how ownership, power, and capital are organized. You own shares of a company that gives you the power to install a board of directors, a CEO, and the pyramid below the CEO. The top of the pyramid has absolute power to command. It cannot be undone by the lower levels. Only bankruptcy or the capitalist class can undo the pyramid. The government can, at best, break monopolies, that is, by dividing a big pyramid into smaller pyramids. Hierarchies are legitimate because corporate law makes them legitimate. They are lawful, much like slavery was lawful. For this reason, we accept that they are also good and moral. However, they are not. The main reason being that this legitimacy does not emerge from a popular consensus of the humans who are being ruled. The workers have no power unless they form a union, and even then they will haggle with the pyramid, not topple it. There's a way to make this better, and that is more democracy and no top-down hierarchies. I made a video about how to convert public corporations to worker democracies. Link below. Number 8. There is no alternative to capitalism. Really? No alternative? Wait, I don't mean the Soviet Union or North Korea. How about these 4 alternatives? Anarchism, buen vivir, bioeconomics, degrowth, donut economics, eco-development, economic democracy, economics of arrival, economy for the common good, economy of permanence, eco-socialism, fully automated luxury communism, participatory economics, perma-circular economy, plenitude economy, post-development, social and solidarity economy, steady-state economics, treconomics. Yes, I made a video about all these as well, link below. Number 9. Capitalism will naturally evolve into Star Trek. No, it won't. Simply because capitalism is incapable of dealing with scarcity. Capitalism does not balance scarce resources with the growth imperative. Green growth does not work. It's a myth. Technology and innovation cannot save us from the problem of needing more energy, more appliances, more cars, and more gadgets. We know from the Jevons paradox that when technological progress increases the efficiency with which a resource is used, the rate of consumption of that resource rises due to the increasing demand. We did learn to use less aluminum for an iPhone, but instead of making the same number of iPhones or less, we make even more. So efficiency actually resulted in exploiting even more natural resources. This is because capitalism has convinced us that we need more iPhones and more cars. Buy, discard, rinse, and repeat. The waste generated as a result of all this production is saturating the planet with greenhouse gases, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch in the Pacific Ocean, and is causing severe climate change. Unlike Star Trek, we do not have replicators to make stuff and dissolve waste back into energy. Physicists will tell us that replicators are impossible due to the enormous cost of converting energy to matter. We have no choice but to keep our feet on the ground, because teleportation into a world with infinite resources and zero waste is not possible. We do have to listen to the IPCC, ecological organizations, and the degrowth movement that clearly tell us we need to drop this wasteful lifestyle. Number 10. Power from wealth is moral. Beyond the capacity to establish hierarchies of bosses and workers, wealth under capitalism has created a strong legitimacy for power. Wealthy capitalists have a higher moral status in society because wealth gives them this access. We listen to life advice from Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and the Kardashians more than we listen to Immanuel Kant, David Hume, Derek Parfit, or Michael Sandel. This happens because wealth buys power, which is influence. Wealth buys elections. Wealth warps democracy. Wealth creates jobs. This job creation myth of capitalism is probably the most audacious scam in history. It is sold to us as a good thing. We have to cut taxes for the rich so they can create jobs with the money they have. Well, they don't create jobs. They keep that wealth and hide it from us, the taxpayers, as best as they can. There's no trickle down. Even if they did create jobs with that wealth, it would still be immoral because they will still do it by forging more and more new hierarchies with no democratic principles. Workers will still have to obey their bosses. Criticism, dissent, reproach are all frowned upon. The only way to fix this is to break the connection between wealth and power for good. As corporate law has evolved to make us believe power from wealth is moral, we as well can upgrade laws to shape a new reality, one in which one human equals one voice equals one vote at the workplace, instead of one share equals one voice, where one human can have millions of voices. This was my top 10 list of ideas that we take for granted in capitalism. You heard the punchline at the beginning. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching. Until next week, be brave and question everything. Click here to watch my top 19 alternatives to capitalism.